Hi everyone, I'm Jill Person, and this is the second part of my series on strategic culture shaping for organizations. For those of you who have watched the first part about strategic thinking, welcome back. I'm glad you found it informative enough to continue on to this presentation. For those who are new to this series, welcome. I hope you'll find this video informative and useful. Let's start with a quick recap of what we covered in the first part. There are a lot of excellent resources that describe organizational culture, but I think businessdictionary.com has the simplest definition, and that is organizational culture is the values and behaviors that contribute to the unique social and psychological environment of an organization. There are a lot of things that may indicate a dysfunctional or counterproductive culture, including performance and productivity issues, practices that don't align with your mission and vision, a creativity vacuum in which new ideas are few and far between, or morale is so low that employees jump ship for any opportunity, even mediocre ones. Also, customer service issues that seem to never get fully resolved, and poor communications, especially when it comes to transparency and decision making and listening to lower level workers. Some tips for thinking more strategically included going back to basics by comparing your mission, vision, and values to how you conduct business and treat all of your stakeholders, balancing the need to put out fires today with the goal of creating a better, stronger, faster version of your organization for tomorrow, considering how to build or in some cases rebuild relationships with workers and customers, and learning how to blend hard data with trusting your gut. Now that everyone's up to speed, let's get moving on a strategic action plan. There are three components which we'll cover in detail in a few moments, but here's a quick rundown. First, build your team. Next, set your objectives. Finally, create your plan. All right, let's get into it. I'm starting you off with this quote from the Dalai Lama because the most important thing you can do to reshape your organizational culture is to listen. All the bad decisions, all the miscommunications, all the issues that have piled up over time to create a dysfunctional culture were present from the start. But the people who had the power to change things, and this might include you, weren't paying attention. In the first video, I talked a lot about engaging people you don't regularly talk to and asking for their ideas and insights. If you took my advice, you've probably already seen what an impact this makes. Now that you're really ready to get started, you need people to help reshape your culture. First, bring in people from every corner of your organization. The more variety you have in skills, backgrounds, employment levels, the more accurately your team will identify what aspects of your culture need to be addressed and how to address them. Next, get the whole group together to kick things off and meet occasionally through the process, but quickly determine what needs to be done and form smaller task forces to dive into each area, like policies and procedures, communications, long-term planning, or evaluation. Finally, reshaping an organization's culture will take some time. It probably didn't go downhill overnight. You might lose some team members along the way. Some will leave the organization. Some will just get worn out or bogged down in other things. Lay out a plan for identifying fatigue, both in individuals and the whole team, as well as identifying team members with leadership potential who can move in later on. So the team's first objective is to set objectives. Start by sharing what you've learned so far. Then stop talking and start listening. Let others share their experiences. You'll find some of your insights reinforced while other notions are off the mark. This is why you've brought everyone together, to get a richer, more accurate sense of what's going on in your organization. Finally, identify what you want to achieve. What should your organizational culture look like when you're done? Document this. You're going to come back to these objectives frequently as you forge ahead. Now that you know your destination, you can figure out how to get there. If you want to reshape your culture, you gotta let people know. Be forthright about the need for change. Hey, if you have a culture problem, everyone already knows it. Don't downplay it. Be clear about what you hope to do. This is your first big opportunity to show your willingness to be transparent and also demonstrate what an improved culture might look like. Use both formal and informal communication channels. Organization-wide emails and messaging are essential, but so are spontaneous conversations. Every member of the team should be informed and ready to talk about the culture reshaping plan. This is another reason you brought together a multi-level team, to reach people who might not be comfortable talking openly with upper management. Stay engaged. Don't stop at one introductory message. You don't have to bombard people with emails and reminders, but do share occasional updates and ideas. And create opportunities for employees to share their experiences and ideas with you. Evaluating your plan as you go is going to be essential. Take a baseline survey at the beginning and follow up on a regular basis to gauge progress and areas in need of attention. Survey all stakeholders, employees, customers, even vendors in some cases. And don't forget the impact individual employees can have on your culture. You already set standards and review employees for productivity. How about reviewing them for their abilities to be part of a team and contribute to the culture you're striving for? Here are some things to consider as you create and carry out your plan to reshape your culture. So I say it over and over again, keep listening. There will never be a time when this becomes unimportant. Stay agile. Once you put any plan in action, even the most carefully crafted one will prove to have some flaws or oversights. Respond thoughtfully and adjust as needed. It's also okay for progress to be uneven. Expect a few twists and turns along the way. Also, not everyone will want to be a part of the new organizational culture. You may have a few people who thrive on dysfunction. There are probably also some folks who already wanted to leave, and any change, even a positive one, creates a window of opportunity to jump out of, so to speak. Also, there may be some employees who would benefit from an improved work culture, but they just don't cope well with transition. I suggest having a plan to help retain this last group as things change. A few more things. First, keep in mind that the point of reshaping your culture is twofold: to create an organization that people want to do good work for now, but also to see long-term improvements in product development, quality assurance, and staff retention and recruiting. Don't rush through the planning process. It's the roadmap you're going to need for the long haul. Lead lightly. So what do I mean by this? Well, you might be inclined to create a plan that lays out every last detail of what your culture should look like and what each person must do to make it happen. Instead, focus on your objectives and empower your employees to figure out how to get the organization there. If you have any inclination for micromanagement, ditch it now. Finally, sometimes it's just hard to know when to move from planning to action. This is kind of interesting, I think. I like this one. Former Secretary of State Colin Powell had a 40-70 rule. He believed that the time to act was when you had between 40 and 70% of the information you need. Anything less, and you're flying without a net. Wait too long, and you'll miss opportunities, or just never get moving at all. I hope you found this video helpful in building a plan to shape your organizational culture for the better. Whether the concepts and recommendations I've shared are new to you or simply reinforce what you already suspected, please feel free to use my presentation as a resource and build on it with your own learning and ideas. This video is the second installment of a three-part series on strategic culture shaping. If you're joining in for the first time and aren't sure your organization is ready to create a plan for change, I encourage you to view the first video on how to think strategically about organizational culture. For those who are ready to put your plan in action, please join me in the final video, Driving Culture, We'll cover how to apply strategy in getting others on board with culture change. If you'd like more information about this presentation, including references, you'll find a link to an information doc in the video details below. Thank you so much for joining me today.